everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in today. My name is Candace Smith, and this is Phat Talk. I am so excited to finally have these two ladies here. If you all only knew how long this has been in the works, you would be excited too. But I am super excited to have Miss Nyanza Riley with Plusletics Apparel. Woo! Yes, and Miss Tiffany with Fat Girl Royalty is in the house.
Yes.
Y'all about Instagram sensation.
Yes.
Miss Plusletics put me on too. I love your content. Yes. And you guys, let me tell y'all what we're talking about today. We're talking about going from self-loathing to self-love. And Tiffany is here to share her story, share some of her journey. You know what? I found out a lot of people complain about the different things that's on social media, you know, all of the drama, all of the negativity. But honestly, there is a lot of people that have developed, that have gone through journeys. And if you sit back and watch those people, you will be inspired. I mean, we don't have to look to just the Lizzos. We don't have to just look to certain people. There are people all around us. And I love that saying, I think that President Obama used to say is like, be your own hero.
Amen.
Be the person that you want your hero to be. You be that. And I love introducing women just like that on this platform. And so, Tiffany, I welcome you. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Yes.
I'm like so excited to be here and like share this space with y'all. It really means a lot to me, especially when you're surrounded by women who are created from the same grains as you, and to just, you know, see yourself in other women and just feel like so connected. I think it's a lot of, it's a bigger deal to us, you know. It's a bigger deal to us when you look at other fat Black women and you just seem to really see yourself in one another. So
yes, it's important that we have that message out there, especially of plus size women. Being positive and, you know, really showing the love, like you see it every single day. It's not, you know, where celebrities can just come out and they've had everybody make them up and tell them how great they are. But the real women walking around every single day, you know, living this life, going through the struggles and the challenges, to see them every day live their life and live it, you know, with this pride, you know, with the love for themselves. That's amazing to me. So I'm excited. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am currently only 22 years old, and you know, I can say a lot about myself. I mean, I really pride myself on my self-love journey, and, you know, portraying that in a way that is both truthful and something that I am unashamed of. I think that a lot of the times we can kind of tend to masquerade our pain and just feel like we have to keep it wrapped up and low. And I almost feel like sometimes a lot of my pain is part of my superpowers. So from a young age, when I was going through a lot of mental health issues and self-image issues, when I look back at that and I reflect on it, I almost kind of think that God let me live through what I've lived through so that I could live to tell the story of how I got through it. Right. So that is kind of how I really view my whole my existence as a whole. I see myself as just a learner, a continuous learner and a continuous grower. I am a business owner. I don't really claim that as much as I should. I am a business owner. I created #FatGirlRoyalty when I was 16, and I had no intentions of it really even snowballing into what it is now. It was just something that came to me. It was just like, I was taking pictures one day and I was like, I don't know, Fat Girl Royalty, #FatGirlRoyalty. And now to know that it's like over 5,000 posts in that tag, and I'm not the only person in the world using it. And it was just something that really was like astounding to me, like a really big deal for me. And so I just overall for me, I view myself ultimately, my biggest deal and my biggest goal is to be an inspiration for any and everybody, but especially for people like me, who have gone through the things that I've gone through and have felt the way that I felt. And yeah.
Okay, gotcha. You know, I looked up that word loathing, and it is a feeling of intense dislike or disgust, hatred. And, you know, when we're saying going from that to self-love, it's not that I started off loathing myself. It's not that. I remember like a lot of time of my younger years really loving who I was, loving the way I looked, loving how I felt about myself. It wasn't until I got around other people and made comparisons and stuff like that came into, then it's like I developed a loathing and like a just like, dang, I'm not what the people want. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like they're in your face that you can't deny it. You know, I can, and what I learned to say for myself is like, I'm not what everybody wants, but I love me. I look in the mirror and I love what I see. I love who I am, you know, so I may not be for everybody, but I'm for somebody.
Exactly.
One thing, when I think about the word self-loathing, unfortunately, I worked with a woman who was always hard on herself and would always tell herself she wasn't pretty and always, you know, down herself. And at one point I had to say to her, I said, you know, I can't have you in our circle because you're bringing so much negativity to the group, right? And so I had a very strong father figure in my life, so he probably dumped way too much confidence in me, but you can never really have too much confidence. But what I've learned on this journey with working with women in our community and being able to sit down and talk to them, and even women that are what we consider straight size and women who are considered plus size. I've been fortunate to work with both ends, and I hear a lot of self-loathing from both women, from both communities. And I just want to be able to say to them, hey, here is how you get over it. Hey, here is someone that may have been feeling that way about themselves, but through their journey and their day and their experiences, they were able to pick themselves out of it, right? And start self-loving, because it starts with self first. Not to get religious, but just for a second, when God says to us very simply, he says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. So if you love your neighbor as you love yourself, you're not going to harm your neighbor. You're going to speak to your neighbor. If your neighbor is hungry, you're going to feed that neighbor. You follow what I'm saying? It's just that simple. But for some people, it's not that simple. And I believe teaching people, it's not about just discussing it, but also giving them the tools to get there and showing them how you got there will help that person pick themselves up. Even if it's just them going back and listen to the podcast when they're feeling low, or someone made them feel not like themselves or pushed them out of that realm of self-love, they can go back and reflect on the podcast, or on the video, on the transcript of the time that we're going to spend together. So that's why I thought it was so empowering the first time I saw you on Shake Your Beauty. Then I started following you after that. And then the way that you come out, like I told you earlier, behind the scenes, I don't follow, I don't know if I can see her name or not. Can I?
Yeah, of course.
I don't follow Lizzo. I said, but to give you an equal to my super fandom for you, it's like the Lizzo, craze, right? Because you're always real. You give it to us raw. Even coming on sometime crying, and then moving from crying and moving to happiness. Yeah. And that is pure. I'm giving you everything. I'm being completely transparent, and I want to show you that I'm still going through my journey, but through it all, I love myself, and that's what I want to hear. That's what I want to know about.
So, Tiffany, when do you feel like was a turning point for you from going from feeling one way about yourself to feeling better about yourself, or exploring the idea of self-love? When was a turning point for you?
I'm going to be like completely honest with you. The turning point for me was birth mother. At that point in time, I was 15 years old. And that was the biggest loss that I've ever suffered. And it was just so, it was a crazy, obviously, that's like, you know, your life is turning on an axis. Like, you can just feel yourself being pushed into the next transitional moment of your life. And I think for me, being at such, like, you know, 5 years ago and 15 today is very different even. Like, when I was 15 compared to the 15 now, the kids now, there's so much more like mentally evolved and mature. It's crazy, and it's like they understand the concept of things more, and it's really like, wow.
They're used to so much more.
Yeah, it's crazy. The level of maturity is a lot more prominent.
Right.
In that short like threshold of time, it's just been like, wow. So when I was 15, I was a sophomore? I believe I was a sophomore in high school. And I think that, okay, I'm gonna take it back to this. And it's just so crazy how God works and how the universe moves and how things happen in a way where it's just so insane and almost fated. And I remember it was 2 weeks after my birthday, and I was taking the bus to go see a movie with one of my friends. And this is when I was suffering, and, you know, I was actually kind of coming out of my shell at this point in time. And I just remember feeling so good this day. I was like, you know, I really want to make a promise to myself that I'm not going to self-mutilate, and I'm not going to purge, and I'm not going to skip meals. Like, I just want to take care of me. And then later that night is when I winded up losing my mom. So at that point forward, I made a promise to her and God that I was never going to hurt myself or self-mutilate in any form ever again. And since then, I've kept that promise. And it sucks because, you know, I don't think that it should ever take someone getting to that point of rock bottom to be willing to change for the better. And even then, like I said, like, it wasn't just because of that certain situation, that unfortunate circumstance, but I was genuinely tired. Like, it was so draining waking up every day and not liking how I looked, not liking how I felt, not liking living. Like, just to be completely honest, like, I was just a miserable child. Like, I was a very, very suicidal child. And it was because of the way that everything was conditioned around me. Like, just everything in my life, everywhere, everything was telling me that I was wrong, that like my existence was wrong. And I don't know if this like offends y'all. I'm gonna be like very candid and very honest, but I am gay. So I do like women. And I came up in a very Christian household. And though my family had never really known, to be honest, because I'm very like feminine, I'm very like femme performing. And there's a stereotype that women who like women are very butch and very manly and masculine, and I'm not into any of that. I don't like any of that. Like, that's just me.
No,
but yeah, so it was like easy for me to masquerade within my family because I am who I am. But just even like, I remember being really young, and I would just go upstairs and I would just cry. I would just cry and cry and cry because I was so damn scared of going to hell. Like, I was just so terrified. And I just remember like, just God, just please save my soul. Like, and I was changing myself. I was like forcing myself to be in relationships with men. And then that was really bad because I was almost trying to use that as a replacement for the lack of love that I had for myself. And then even when I did get into relationships with people who I wanted to date, it was still kind of like a really toxic situation as well. So it was just a lot of badness. It was just like, you can't win because you're fat. You can't win because you're black. You can't win because you're a woman. You can't win because you're gay. So your whole existence is just like, we don't want it. Like, you're not correct in any form. There is nothing that you can do right. And it was just a constant battle. So for me, I really just like, I just woke up one day tired. Like, I was just so sick of feeling the way that I felt. And at this point in time, I was so just afraid of being candid with my family. And it's very hard in Black families because mental health isn't a concept that's really taken seriously. We're always told, well, you know, just talk to God, just pray it away, just go to church. It's always something that is like passive and dismissive. You know what I mean? It's never anything that's like taken seriously. It's like, oh, you're crazy. But it's like, I grew up with really, really, really bad social anxiety, really bad depression. I couldn't even get on the bus in the morning without having a breakdown because I was just thinking that everyone around me was looking at me and like wanting to talk about me. And it was insane. So, I got to a point where I was just like, okay, you can't do anything besides take baby steps. So for me, what I decided to do is I was like, you know what, I'm going to start putting myself in predicaments where I feel like I might seemingly be uncomfortable, but because I'm getting more used to it, I'm going to feel comfortable. I'm going to feel like I have a space, I hold a space. And so I started doing things, extracurricular activities. I started joining summits. I started joining clubs, after school clubs and things like that. Just things that I normally wouldn't do. I was like a very, very secluded person until I was about 16 and a half. So, you know, from doing things like that, it was very enriching for me because I felt like I wasn't just at home and sitting in loathing and just like negatively grieving, and you know, I was doing something productive with my energy. I had positive outlets, positive things to do. Right. So that for me was like my number one thing, is that I always had my hands on something. I always had just something to do. So that was like my first step. And then I also would come up with a positive and helpful coping mechanisms. Like for instance, I had a system. So if it was like I went 2 weeks without self-harming or, you know, hurting myself in any way, okay, you'll go get your nails done. And also because I had really bad social anxiety, I would force myself, like when I say forced, I literally mean forced. I would force myself to go out by myself. So I would take myself to the movies, I would take myself to the mall, just like any public place where there would be like a lot of people. I would force myself to get public transportation. And I was just like, you have to learn how to exist and take up space and not be apologetic for it.
Right.
And it's kind of like, I hate this question in a way because I get it a lot, where a lot of kids on my Instagram will say like, well, how did you get so confident? And it's not like it's just a checklist and it's just something that you can just like, well, you know, you just turn around the mirror 3 times and you know what I mean? Like it's
right, yeah. Click your heels 3 times and you will be speed on. Right.
That's what everybody wants to know. And at the end of the day, it's a journey for yourself, and it takes self-evaluation. And that's what a lot of people don't get to. We are sometimes so busy looking outward. What are they doing in comparison to what I'm doing? How do they look in comparison to how I look? What do they have in comparison to what I have? And so much time is spent doing that. That's what got me. That's what I had to realize, like, the reason why you can't do nothing for yourself is because you always thinking about somebody else and what they got and what they have. Get your mind off of them and put it onto you, and let's look at what you got. Let's work at what you have. And I think what you did was really good. You developed a plan for yourself, much like they would do in some type of therapy or something, which is why it's needed for us, because it gives you the coping mechanisms.
Plusletics Apparel curves that play in lingerie. Plusletics Apparel is introducing a new lingerie line for plus-size women. The lacy baby doll and G-string is available in black and white and goes up to size 5X, and includes a short sheer baby doll style dress with beautiful lace designs along the side. It ties in the back and falls right below the fupa. It comes with a G-string with an adjustable slider, and the lacy baby doll includes an elastic bottom meant to hold the dress in place when things begin to heat up. And trust me, the lacy baby doll and G-string is sure to have your bedroom on fire. The lacy baby doll and G-string available at Plusletics Apparel for only $23.95. www.plusleticapparel.com. That's www.plusleticsapparel.com. Order today to take advantage of free shipping, pay later options with Klarna, and 15% off with code PHAT15, PHAT15. Order your lacy baby doll in G-string today.
What you're going through, it gives you little things that you help develop yourself, that you can say, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. And I have made arrangements like that with myself before, like, okay, Candice, what we're gonna do is this. We're gonna go here and we're gonna just do this for this certain amount of time. We're gonna get through it. Then we're gonna come back home and we're gonna get in our bed when we're safe.
Yes. And I'm so glad, just to interject for a second, I'm so glad that you brought up the topic of comparisons, because that was such a killer for me. Like, when I tell you, like, it was soul crushing. And I was just always just thinking about, like, well, this person is prettier than me and this person has more than, it was so bad. It was my biggest, I think that it was my biggest obstacle, like, absolutely. And it's like, now I'm so far removed from that now that it's almost funny to even think back and like think about that. I was in that state of mind, like, I was so hooked. I just always felt like, well, maybe if I look more like this and I did it like this person. And
it's a revolving door. It never ends. That's the thing about it, because for me, it was like one obsession over another. Like, okay, well, I don't have this. Then when I got a nice little decent car. Now I got a little car. Okay, well, now I don't have this. And that person, they in their relationship and they looking good and happy, and I don't have that. And the thing that I learned too that is so detrimental about comparisons is that it makes you make this poor decision.
Oh, for sure.
Make sure I vote something, because you all are hitting on a topic. I'm trying to think to myself. So I have to ask this question. The little underwriter in me is just jumping up and down. I need to know why. Why did you compare yourself to other people? Why was that question even in your mind? What planted that question? Help me out.
For me, growing up, first and foremost, like, even just the things that I watched on television and the music that I listened to, just everyone that I saw in the star, in the light, and anyone that I saw that would get any kind of positive attention, they never looked like me. Like, even just, I was talking about this the other day with one of my girlfriends. We like to have, like, really deep, thought out conversations. And I was talking about how back when Disney Channel was, like, good, Raven Simone was such a huge inspiration for me. And I just remember being like 12 to 14 and just looking at her, because she was the only woman of size on television that I felt like was representing and looked like, you know what I mean? It was the only thing that I really had to look to. So for me, it was just like, wow, like this. And even then, when she wasn't even that big, but she was like a growing woman. And she was like, what, like a 14, 16, and everybody's just like, Raven got so big and she's so big. I just remember that like so vividly. I remember that so vividly, and I'm like, well, like, why is that an issue? I
know.
I was just so confused. I'm just like, she's kind of like a full-grown woman, and I don't know, full-grown women grow.
Exactly. And it wasn't like she was even fat in, the other places. She wasn't really fat to me. She was just thick, maybe. Yeah. She was just thick. She just had breasts, she had hips, she had butt. That's all it really boiled down to. But yes, she did get a lot of flack for that. Growing up with me, I liked Countess Vaughn. Do y'all remember her from the party?
Oh, yeah. The girl off of Searching with the Stars. That's where I remember her from.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Y'all know I'm 47. I'm 47. I'm Generation X. So yeah, I remember her from that.
I feel like we all maybe had one person, But, you know, on a personal level, it's a big difference when we grow up differently. Like, Nyanza, I heard you saying how, you know, your father gave you a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
And I lost my father when I was 12. And so, like, when you don't, I remember having an interview with the Florida Times Union, and the interviewee, I will never forget, she was, her name is Tanya Weathersby. And she was really surprised at the fact that I was having this plus size magazine and, you know, just really celebrating plus size women, and the fact that my father wasn't in my life. And she was saying, you know, well, most women that grow up without their fathers usually have low self-esteem. And she just rattled on all of these things that behind the scenes I really was feeling. But what I got used to doing was dressing it up. I got used to the glamorization of plus size. You know, when Monique was coming out doing the Beyonce dances and stuff like that, that's when my magazine was popping, because I just loved that whole idea of just a plus size woman being so glamorous and just being that it girl that I got to see in my neighborhood. I got to see a lot of other plus size women that weren't celebrities, but they were in churches looking cute, you know, dressed to the T and all of that stuff. So that's what I grew up around, and I love seeing that. But there was a part of me that didn't feel secure, that didn't feel worthy enough for certain things. And I can't help but feel like that had a play in it. You know, when you have been, I guess, just empowered in a way from the people that matter in your life. For instance, your parents, when they empower you and give you that confidence and just speak that stuff in you, it sort of does resonate your whole life. But if you don't have that, there can be a void, you know. And then when you have other situations going on, such as you big or you fat or whatever, you supplement that with food, you supplement that with men, with relationships, with, you know, just all sorts of things, drugs, alcohol, self-medicating. I mean, all of those things come into play. But it was really a journey for me to even recognize that, hey, you have this issue. You know what I mean? You got to acknowledge it first. And that was one of the big things for me. I had to recognize that I was doing a lot of comparisons. I had to recognize that, you know, in certain areas, Candace, you're not so confident. And when you recognize that you're not so confident, you do things to make up for that lack of confidence. And so you have to examine yourself and just constantly be aware of what you got going on. And unfortunately for me, it took a couple of cycles for me to recognize their patterns. It took a couple of years for me to say, okay, now everybody that you get in a relationship with ain't wrong. You know, you in that relationship too now. So what are you doing that's causing, you know what I mean, these things? Right. And I just had to. So, you know, going from self-loathing to self-love, and a lot of people may think self-love, oh, bubble baths and makeup and pampering and all of that type of stuff. No, it's accountability for yourself. It's boundaries. You know, it is making sure, like you said, I didn't want to put myself in an uncomfortable situation anymore. It's protecting yourself. That's what self-love is all about.
Sometimes we put ourselves in uncomfortable situations so that we do grow from it. And that's what I have to piggyback off of what Tiffany was saying earlier about her process of moving to the self-love part and evaluating. I'm going to use your word as well, Candace, self-evaluating. That sometimes we do have to put ourselves in uncomfortable situations to see where our strengths are. And if those strengths are very low, then we have to work on making those weaknesses our strength. You know, I have to think about being a teenage mom and moving my kidlet from the city into the country to make sure that I protect him. You just got to do things that will bring yourself to that next level and will make yourself better. Because if you're not better, then how are you going to get better people around you? in your circle, because you won't recognize those people. And I agree with you. Self-loving is not about bubble baths. It's not about putting on makeup. It is about giving yourself boundaries. It is about disciplining yourself. It is about making plans for yourself, be it educating yourself more, be it loving on yourself more, taking yourself out to the movies, putting yourself in different situations so that you are making bonds with other people, because there are people out there that want to make bonds with you. But you'd have to learn how to love yourself so you can recognize it. So it's powerful what both of you all ladies shared with me. I learned a lot. Thank you.
For certain. If I can just add to what you said, Candace, honestly, and I feel like self-love is really ultimately you being patient with yourself. Like if you are going and embarking on a journey and you know that this is going to be something that is relentless, you have to stick with it. You cannot let go of it. And it has to be something where you're in a space where you know, like, I'm the number one factor and variable in my life, and this is for me. So if I have to get up and fall and get up and fall and get up and fall, I'm going to do that until I emerge victorious. And even like, I think that people like you said, like the whole glamorization of like, oh, the bubble baths and, you know, and that's cute too. Like, of course, like, you know what I mean? Like, of course, you know, treating yourself here and there, you know, making yourself feel good, of course. But ultimately, it just comes down to you. You have to have a resilience. You have to be able to have a resilience and a perseverance that cannot be broken and cannot allow anything to interject with your journey, no matter how long it takes. And you all, both of you guys have made like really good points. Like, you know, when you take care of yourself and you're really prioritizing your mental, emotional, and spiritual health, it makes you a better person to be around. It makes you, you don't have to feel like you're in this state of like, you know, being performative. You can just be yourself and that just be enough. I feel like a lot of times I was just kind of a bad person to be around when I was mentally unwell, because I lacked a lot of self-awareness. And that is like my number one thing with people that I surround myself with in general in my life. If you are not self-aware and you cannot have accountability for your actions, regardless of your past trauma or anything that has happened to you, I cannot be around you. Yep. I think a lot of times, like, people like to use mental illness and things like that as a handicap or a cane, and it's not okay. It's not okay. I think that if you really love yourself, you would love yourself enough to be real with yourself. You would love yourself enough to say, you know what, although I am going through these things, I know that I'm somewhat self-projecting around the people who are in my life, and it's not making me someone who is good to be around. So I think it's just so much more than surface level. For me, I think that a lot of the people and the kids in my generation, communication and accountability is really off. It's really
your generation. Trust and believe it's not just your generation.
It's just off.
It's like when you're in your 20s, if you don't develop some things in your 30s, you will be in your 40s still acting like you're 20.
Thank you. Hello.
It don't matter. Like it don't.
It does not. It does not.
Yeah, I learned it the hard way.
I have seen it, and it's about breaking that cycle. And you know what? When you said that woman said to you about like your father and stuff like that, well, number one, I pretty much grew up without my father as well. He didn't really come into my life until I was about 13 years old, but he was always there in the sense that like, oh, your dad got you this present, oh, your dad gave you this money, oh, your dad did this. So he always took care of me in that way, but he wasn't ever really present in my life until I was about 13 or 14. And like since then, he's been an amazing father. And I love him for that. Like he's really there. Yeah, he's really there. I can never fault him for like any of that. But honestly, I don't know anything about that woman that you were saying, but I think from so many different kind of angles, and you never know, she could have been self-projecting onto you as well, because it could have been something that she might have lived through. So while she's down this list of things that, maybe and this and this and this, it could have been her insecurities coming to the surface, and she needed to release that onto, so she just went ahead and, you know what I mean? So it's just,
I wish I could those words. I can still hear her, how she said them. I can see her mannerism. I've never forgotten it. It was like echoing in my head forever, because it was like, wow, you know, I was just speechless. I can't even say I spoke back or said anything. I was basically just like, oh, I guess that's me then. I don't know.
And even something that you felt like was like a shoe that you wore, and that was something that you related to, it was just seemingly so unwarranted. Right. You know, like in that moment, just to like be like, well, you know, I'm that to me speaks volumes about how she might have felt about herself. Mm-hmm. I analyze everything. Like, I'm very like, listen, I don't take anything for face value, and I think that is another reason why I like myself so much. Is it's not so much about just my physical, it's about my mental and the things that I have done to enrich myself and the things that I have done to elevate myself.
Intellect.
Like, you know, it's more than one way to skin a cat. You know what I'm saying?
That's why you draw people too. I think that's why you have the fan base that you have and the followers that you have, because once you find that beauty from the inside and the love for yourself from the inside, it really does become a magnet. And I mean, it's no way around it. I learned that. It's just the truth. Like, people want to be around you. They want to be in your presence. They want to be in that, basking in that glow.
Right.
Yeah. Definitely.
And I feel like us, as fat Black women, we are the way that we are because we've had to endure so much more. And I think about that a lot. And I know for a fact that, and this isn't even shade or anything degrading in any way, I know that if I was a smaller woman, I wouldn't be as exuberant as I am. I wouldn't, because
your journey would have been different.
I went into every situation thinking to myself, well, listen, you know, initially right off the bat, these people aren't going to like you because of what you are and what you look like. Therefore, you have to make up for it in other factors. So I had elements to myself. I'm like, well, you know, I can kind of sing, you know, I can do makeup, I can dress, I'm kind of funny. So I would like play myself up. And I think that we just all have this essence about us that is just, it's so like you can hold it in your hands, like it's just so tangible. Right. And everybody wants a little piece of that. It's like a money tree, like you just want to, you know.
We have to dig really deep to find those good qualities and spend more time than a lot of people sometimes don't have to do. You know what I mean? So it does make it extra special. Now, I really feel like I want to approach a topic with you, but I feel like it's going to turn into a whole nother podcast. I'm not even going to lie. Y'all, we about to get into it. It might have to be a part 2. Yes, it may.
Right, podcast part 2. I'm loving it.
So basically, I would love to hear, you know, if you're willing, about your journey with discovering your sexuality and the experiences that you've had, both good and bad, you know. Like I said, I feel like, I know it's a lot, but there is no one really speaking about that. So maybe we can save that for another podcast. I really want to take the time to have you share about that, because I mean, I don't share your same experience on this level. However, my life has been, you know, attached to people that are gay. And I've grown grown up in a very Christian, Church of God in Christ environment, you know what I mean? And I've gone through the whole just journey of like, you know how back in the day, I don't know, you are a little younger than me, but it's like back in the day, there was no room for that. You know what I mean? There was no room for you having a child outside of wedlock. You know, so I've been doomed. You know what I mean? I've been doomed. I've been kicked out. They don't want me to go make it in. I've been kicked out. So you know what I'm saying? So, and then like I said, my life has been tied in more than one way to you know, someone that's gay that I love and care about very much. And I was actually speaking to someone else on my mental health channel called Openly Broken, and we were sharing about that, and I'm like, oh God, you know, I have never really come out and expressed certain thoughts and feelings and questions that I've just had, and I would love to just have a very open conversation with you about it.
I would absolutely love that.
And I'm just trying to tell you, can't say I never tried to roll ya. The sun do more to warm ya. And I'm just trying to tell you. And I'm just trying to tell you.
Okay.
Absolutely love that.
We have to save that because I really want to get deep for real.
I want to ask one favor though. When that happened, and again, I do a lot of reading, and I don't have small children anymore, but I do have one younger son. And one thing that I would like to hear in that component is you giving some tips to younger people who are still struggling and who are harming themselves, who are self-mutilating, who are thinking about taking their own lives. I see a lot of that. And if you can just add that component to it as well, to, you know, just giving some steps of like what you did tonight, just giving some steps of how to cope with it if you haven't told your family or you haven't told your friends, just some tips possibly on, you know, basically how to cope with it and how to move yourself from self-harming, and trying to give them tips of not wanting to take their own lives. Because I do believe, you know, and I'm not trying to make this religious, Candace, forgive me, but I do believe that the universe, I'll say it that way, the universe or the spirituality or the forces around us doesn't give us more than we can handle. But I do believe that's because it puts people in the world to give us the tools to handle it. We just have to act upon it.
Yes.
So
I agree with everything you said.
Okay, well, we're gonna get that together, you guys, so y'all definitely stay tuned, like, for real, because we got to get into that. I really like, and I love the way you was like fat black gay, and, you know, fat black gay women. You know, I feel like there's a lot of women that have a lot to say. A lot of women and young girls, young guys too, that are hurting, that, you know, don't really have nowhere to turn, don't have nobody to talk to, nobody to relate to, nobody to show them. And it's a lot of times behaviors and things that we really need to see, and we don't get the opportunity to see them. That's the way we're taught, you know, it's through actions and behaviors. And how do I act when I'm in love? Sometimes it's like I get in a relationship, it's like, now what do I do with it? Do I feed it? Do I water it? What times? You know, it's like, I don't know how to you know, so little things that I feel like would be good to just talk about, you know, safe ways of being in relationships and things like that, because that's, you know, from my experiences with people and, you know, them sharing things with me, it seems like that's a big thing that's missing. And it's like people just running around aimlessly, no direction.
I've seen it too many times within us.
Right.
And that's the part that hurts me. It's, oh my goodness, just seeing somebody degrade themselves and lower their standards for men just to feel validated for all of 20 minutes. Like, come on, we gotta do better.
Girl, even if you get 20 minutes, okay? You know.
Okay.
That was it? Be like, that was it? That's what,
No, we gotta do better.
Right.
Better.
Yes.
I will take Bob any day off of half. Oh, I can't say that word. But y'all get what I'm saying, right?
Let me drink to that.
Okay, me too.
Miss Nyanza with her wine and her plum. What you got on? Her plum.
Oh, girl, you know, I'm dropping this next week. I'm dropping this in the store.
I mean, they just ready to, you know. Yes. Y'all will not know. Plusletics Apparel is in the building. This is like really the only place you're gonna get plus size athletic wear that you see it fits just like fits so right. I mean,
girl, like a glove, baby, like a glove. Like a glove, baby, like a glove.
Yes, girl.
Yes. Detailing everything.
No.
Glove, baby, like a glove. Yes.
Okay.
And guess what? It goes up to size 32. You heard?
There we go.
Did I hear inclusive sizing?
Inclusive.
Did I hear inclusive sizing from the Plusletics Apparel brand? Yes, baby. Yes.
Okay, I do. I love that plum color. Is that what they call it? What color is that?
I'm gonna have to go look it up.
Okay.
I'll go look it up and let you know.
Okay.
But
I do. It plum. It's not plum.
It matches your lipstick. Look at your lipstick. And look at
I love it. I do. Ooh. I love plums. I really do.
Especially time of year, like, oh my God, you throw in a good burgundy, a good plum. It is just like, oh my God. Just,
Yes, I know.
Like, you put on a dark lip, even when you don't have other makeup on, it makes you look like you're on. You know what I mean? It just
on and popping. Y'all haven't seen nothing yet. I got these purple ones coming. Woo! And see, I live in Louisiana, so we have Mardi Gras.
Right.
Oh my God.
So that's why you into those colors. Okay, all right. So you said, when is that one going up?
I'm gonna put this one up next Friday. I'm gonna market it all this week, and I'm gonna put it up Friday coming.
Okay, y'all.
Let my sisters get their coins together.
Yeah. The coins. Get
together.
www.plusleticsapparel.com. Sign up for free. There are weekly savings that emails that I get, weekly alerts that I get. Not only that, you'll also get the Wednesday workout. I've been checking it out. So you don't even have to think about what you got to do for your workout. It's already right there. You get that already. And not only that, but you also have the lingerie line, right?
That's right, the lingerie line. We will be putting up new stuff right after Christmas. And we're going to go body stocking crazy because apparently men love their body stockings on their women, on their queen size women.
I know that's right.
Girl, I got men I have so many men ordering the body stockings. I love it though. They queen size body stockings. I'd be like, okay, we got that for you, brother. We got it.
All right, so fellas out there, if you want to get it,
I got it for you.
Hey, that's the perfect Christmas gift. Get
right. That keeps on giving. Oops, Candace, I apologize.
I am so done.
I want to say one more thing about our weekly newsletter. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Along with our weekly newsletter, guys, what we're doing is we're going to go into fitness motivation. And what we mean by fitness motivation is we're going to send you not only a weekly workout routine, so even if you can't get to the gym and you have to work out from home, or if you can't afford right now a personal trainer, or afford to have someone to put a training program together. We understand that those are, those can be a little costly nowadays. Not only that, we're going to be adding recipes along with it as well. So even if you are paleo, you are, what is the other one? Presbyterian, gluten-free, all of these different types of food choices or diet choices. We're going to be including a recipe for each one of your diet choices as well, and a smoothie. So our free weekly fitness motivational newsletter will be packed with great information. And then, of course, we're creating a landing page for all of these great podcasts, for all these great articles and blogs, so that we can just keep you in the know and keep you educated and keep you just motivated about getting up, getting active, and healthy.
So I'm excited about that. So, ladies, I want to say thank you once again for a wonderful, wonderful conversation. Tiffany, it was just amazing to meet you. This does not always happen, by the way, where it's like we gotta have a part two, but
we're gonna get the part two.
Yes, we got
to get a part two.
I don't care how long it's gonna take us to get it. I know it took us a while to get it. I don't care how long. We're gonna have that conversation, and I think it's gonna be really great. I think it's gonna be to a lot of young women.
Oh yes,
a lot of older women that's still struggling with everything. Just wanting to be loved. So I'm excited to have you to come back and do that. And I just feel this has been a great conversation. I feel good.
Yes, me too. This was beautiful.
Yes. So thank you, ladies. If you're able to meet us on Instagram Live, I'm going to delete that off of here because they ain't going to be able to go on Instagram.
No, it'll be gone.
I'm going to definitely delete that off there. Okay, ladies.
No, I want people thinking.
Oh, Tiffany, what I'll do is I'm going to edit this little part out, but if you don't mind saying your information for where they can reach you.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Okay, y'all. So my Instagram is at Tiff Raya Grande, Tiff Raya Grande. My YouTube is also Tiff Raya Grande. And for those of y'all who like TikTok or on TikTok, it's Tiff Raya Grande too. So I'm just the same. My Twitter is Tiffiana Grande. It's Twitter. But yes.
All right. You can check that out in the description box. I'll have all of Tiffany's information. Go follow her, as well as Plusletics Apparel. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. This has been definitely one of the best conversations that we've had in a while. Like, this is so needed. Going into the Christmas season where we have to deal with family sometimes. And
we love you, family.
We love you, family. So this was a good conversation to go into that with, So, all right, ladies, happy holidays to you. Thank you again for joining. This has been Phat Talk. Until next time, peace.
Peace in.
Yes.
Everything litty, I love when it's hot. Turn to the city, I broke all the knots. Got some more millies, I keep me a knot. I create.